Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of Paradigm Shift in Educational Comedy. And we're here with Vinny Eastwood, Katerina Edwards, Richard Hamilton, and Kristen Meyer was going to join us, but I think she got busy with something else. Well, it's okay. Life happens. I also promised somebody that I would announce something on here. And yes, Katerina Edwards Roy, Katerina Roy, my bad, I'm caught in habit here. Yes, she is married to Paul Roy. Anyway, I promised to mention that I was talking with Lucy Rose earlier, and apparently, and I didn't know this was going on, but there's a lot of women who are in desperate need of some empowerment in her, physical in-person reality, and she likes to get them together periodically and, put the laptop up and they all watch videos and stuff, and they have two pieces of content in mind when they do this, the Paradigm Shift in Educational Comedy stuff and Max Egan stuff. So I didn't know anybody was doing that, so I thought that was actually rather cool. So yeah, I mean they've heard all of us, so I think that's pretty slick. But today we've got Vinny on because we're going to talk about professionals and what that word actually means. People act as if professional is this like almost godlike authority that we have to bow down and worship, and whatever they say is truth because, well, they have this magical talisman, this piece of paper that, it's got writing on it, and whatever is written down there is supposedly the truth of the universe. Where really the word professional, if we look at the word and separate it, profess, which means to make claim, and the suffix "shanol," which just means the act thereof. So basically, if someone professes and makes claim, it must be the almighty truth of the universe. Which is why I guess politicians are professionals, because they profess and make claim to a lot of untruthful lies that they pass off as the truth. So I love Vinny's little rants about what professionals really are, and the last time we had him on, he went into a bit of that. So yes, your thoughts, Vinny?
Well, the way I look at it, the world's currently run by professionals. How's that working out for you?
Not well.
Yeah.
Unless of course you think corruption and greed and genocide and war is wonderful, which I don't, so I don't think it's wonderful.
Well, so long as it's, not amateur corruption and greed, I mean, my God, you you got to just up your game here, bro. And I've been working quite hard in my own amateurish way to do everything I can to expose scumbaggery and have a laugh while I'm doing it. And
but that's not very professional of you, Vinny.
Well, ideally, but what I've noticed along the way is a lot of people do also want to expose scumbaggery, but they have this mindset that they have to do it perfectly, right? They have to do this television show or this radio show in this exact way. We need to spend that much time on it, and if they release it and then they look at it and they don't like it, they delete it off and that kind of thing. Whereas my very unprofessional way of doing things is go to a protest, do a video. If the video's crap, make a better video next time at the next protest, and eventually you've got 3,000 videos and more subscribers than the mainstream media YouTube channels in your country, almost all of them combined.
Totally. I'd like Katerina to speak on that right now, because that's kind of one of the things she's been facing as far as putting up YouTube videos and making productions and stuff. The mental malware dichotomy of, before I can go forward, it needs to be this way, and it needs to be perfect and done in this fashion, and coming into the realization that really just you being you and putting yourself out there, fuck perfection. You'll improve your platform over time, but in the meantime, it's okay to begin at the beginning. but they think that they have to already be at their destination in order to begin on their journey, and it's neurotic, but we're programmed to be neurotic Nazis. That's what the indoctrinational system does. So, Katerina.
Well, thank you, Dave. You pretty much just said everything I was going to say, so you answered your own question.
Well, an example I can cite is my former co-host on the Vinny Eastwood show. Like maybe 5 years ago, I think he left the show, and he was talking at the time about doing a thing called Infomatrix in New Zealand, infomatrix.com. And he says, "I've got to do it perfectly. I've got to do it right, and I've got to do it absolutely 100%. You know, the right way. It's got to be good. It's got to be good." And I met him about a week or two ago, and I said, "So what are you doing now, bro?" He goes, "I'm working in a cafe, and I'm still got a whole bunch of projects in my head and stuff like that." And it's like, dude, you just spent 5 years. What have you got to show for it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the bravery, just trusting in yourself to just go out and do it, 3 sheets to the wind, whatever comes, wherever the chips fall, just take responsibility for it. But the first thing that you have to do is just trust your instincts and trust yourself. Otherwise, you are perpetually in this sort of third-party perspective where you're trying to look at everybody as how they perceive you, right? And it's the opposite way. You're supposed to look at everybody and perceive them your own way, and you're supposed to act like yourself. And I noticed this very poignantly whenever I've gotten up to speak at, say, heavily socialist or heavily right-wing sort of party meetings or something like this, and I want to say something conspiratorial. I try to tone it down, to dumb it down, so to speak, or try to go after like a few isolated little thingies. And I found I get tongue-tied, because if I can't express myself in the way that I normally do, and I'm trying to please everybody else, I can't speak or think clearly.
That's happened exactly to me as well.
Yeah, I've had that same exact thing happen.
Yep.
And it's when you're comfortable, ultimately, in front of the microphone, in front of the audience, that you really come into your own, and that's why it's called coming into your own. You know, it's like somebody comes up and they're like, "Oh, we're going to save your life. This is going to be good. We're going to teach you how to do this, that, and the other. We're going to give you this education. It's only going to cost you $50,000 in debt that you'll never be able to pay off. It'll be a great education." My mate Daryl, talked to him the other day, and I said to him, "Bro, how many years have you been studying?" And he goes, "Oh, I've been studying for 7 years." "Oh, okay. And how much debt have you got there?" About $50,000. "And how much equipment have you got where you can actually apply all those video and audio editing skills to?" And he goes, "Well, I've got none of it." So I go, well, what if? Just open your mind real wide. It's just, what if you got yourself into debt and bought a whole bunch of equipment that you could actually do? How much equipment would 50 grand get you? And he goes, "Well, I'd be totally set up. I'd virtually have my own studio." And I go, "Exactly." You know, like prioritizing spending money on an intangible education that is based upon the use of equipment that you can't afford because you paid for an education how to use it. I say, get the equipment first and use it. There's your fucking education.
Yeah, no kidding.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just like the idea that, in order for the human brain to be capable of processing information, you need to be physically sitting in an institution called a school. Otherwise, if you're anywhere else, then you know your neural networks are just going to lock up and freeze, and you'll be unable to learn unless the almighty gods of media and government and everything have you in this physical building that will magically allow those neural networks to unlock and process. But otherwise, nope, sorry, if you're not in a physical building, well, your brain can't learn anything. And it's like, what the fuck? And as far as what you were saying about, the whole, this needs to be a certain way, I've noticed that in both the so-called truth and the spiritual movements too, especially within internet radio. It's starting to almost get like similar to the mainstream, whereas before they were like, oh, who cares about professionalism, who cares about, aligning with the status quo, who cares about ratings, this, that, and the other. It's more important to just speak your truth. And then not too horribly long ago, and I'm not going to name names or drop names or anything like that, but I'm just going to say that there was somebody within radio who was basically commenting to me privately about PSEC and me and Katerina and Rich and everybody and all what we're doing. And this guy was like, "Well, Dave, you have no content. You need some content." And I'm like, "No content, really? I've got this whole YouTube channel full of stuff, this, that. So how do I not have content?" It's like, well, you're not. And I'm summarizing this. You're not sticking to mainstream, guidelines, and there's ratings to consider, and people need to be kept interested, and this needs to be in this specific format, and that needs to be this, and this anal format here, and this strict protocol there. And this was a guy who would previously be getting on air saying, none of that matters. It just matters speaking your truth and being yourself and the human awakening. And now it's like, well, Dave, you don't have any content because of blah blah blah. And then he went so far as to tell me, and Katerina doesn't need you to babysit her anymore. She doesn't need a guru. She can fly free on her own. This person apparently has no idea of the understanding that someone like me and Katerina could actually, honest to God, be friends, and that she doesn't work for me or beneath me. We work with each other as equals. We have a deep, close, legitimate friendship, and we also work together on projects. And in that stuffy, professional, ratings are more important type of thinking, these ideas just cannot be understood by people. It's just like, friends? That can't happen. What, do you think we're humans? No, we're robots in a machine. Yeah. We can't have human relations.
It's not about doing it as good as someone else. It's doing the best that you can do, right? Like, I listen to a lot of other shows, watch a lot of things and comedians and what have you, and I allow them to inspire me, and I allow them to show me different things and different paths that I can go down and search out. And speaking, thinking, talking, the whole 9 yards of it. Whenever you're in talk radio, it's about insight, and you sit there every single day, like I've been doing, 5, 6, 7 days a week for like 5 years, and you get better as each show progresses, only just a little bit better. It's kind of like watching a child grow. You don't notice the difference from one day to the next, but if you don't see them for 6 months, they're very, very much larger, right? So you go back and listen to my 2010 archives, and then you listen to, say, a show I did yesterday, and you can see massive improvement. Now, it doesn't mean I had anybody telling me what to do. It just means that I can listen to myself from an objective standpoint and think, I can tweak that little bit here. It's what my somewhat fabulous former producer used to call plussing. Whenever you go to give somebody feedback about a show they're doing, you don't give them negatives. You don't say you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't be doing that. What you do is you do pluses. You go, you should do a little bit more of that. You can improve on that little puppy right there. And what it does is it creates a positive multi-spectrum path for you to develop on and evolve as a radio show host. And if you're very concerned about it, overly concerned about it, you become afraid of what you'll say. And that is not a good thing for a radio show host to be. They need to be courageous. They need to be brave. They need to speak the truth regardless of what consequences there are for it, because the radio show host knows that not speaking the truth has far dire consequences than just repeating it,
Exactly. That's why it was such a shock when this person, approached me like that, because my previous impression of them is that, they were the courageous type that was just going for the truth. And, within that incident with this person, they also went so far as to say that, the people that, some of the people that I've had on that were just expressing about their own shifts and their own dichotomies and dealing with life, and that they've been inspired to face and clear these things and to continue to improve and not let society get them down and so on and so forth. He proceeded to tell me that is whining. Oh, there's people there whining. Yet he's had exactly the same, sorts of people on, what he's done that, have gone on, similar rants, like, gone on all the societal dichotomies and their own internal malware, and then stating what they've learned, that, despite all this, this has taught me to become more empowered in this area, and, to not give up and keep going and so on and so forth. So he was always kind of, an advocate of that sort of expression.
Can I say something here? Here's the problem with putting people on a pedestal. Every single person that you put on that pedestal is a human being that is inherently flawed. And a day will come when they fall from that pedestal that you put them up on, and you're the one who actually gets crushed when they come tumbling down, not them. So don't put them up, all right? So, think about it kind of like grass in a field. Does a cow favor one particular patch of grass, or does he just eat from the whole field as he comes across it and takes what he needs as he eats?
Exactly.
Take your inspiration, take your motivations from people, but don't invest in the personality. Don't invest in the person, because every single person that I've admired or really tried to emulate has wound up being a pretty terrible person in a lot of ways, and it's very disenfranchising, demotivating, and depressing. So the way I got around that is no longer having a stake in those personalities at all, barely even listening to them, and simply acknowledging that they influenced me, they gave me some inspiration, and I'm taking what I want from it. Even a desert of lies can yield a grain of truth.
Exactly. I agree completely, and I do my best to ignore the messenger and focus on the message, and the fact that I'm able to do that tends to upset people, because I'll quote Hitler just as readily as I'll quote Jesus, and they're like, oh my God, how horrible, that was Hitler, you need to shun that information, he was such a terrible guy. And I'm like, look, I will quote Hitler and Jesus in the same sentence to make a unified point if I damn well feel like it, because information is disinformation. Like when I tell people that Hitler said, the beautiful thing about the totalitarian state is that it forces those who fear to emulate it. I'm like, well, I don't think it's a beautiful thing, but Hitler was correct that is how that particular form of, MK Ultraing and psychological abuse works, that when you beat a person down with that enough and they go into this fear and terror, they get reactive and defensive, and therefore become the exact same mentality as the system that's beating them down. It's a meme. So that's all Hitler was saying. But then people were like, oh well, it's Hitler who said it, so we need to ignore that because Hitler was evil and blah blah blah. And it's just like, what? I tell people I personally think that if Hitler had stated openly and officially that the sky is blue, that we'd all be saying that it's purple. And that anybody who says it's blue is anti-Semitic. Oh, and Kristen is calling. Let's see if we can pipe her in.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
One. Hey, Kristen, you're on live. You're on live.
Hello.
Hey, Kristen.
Can everybody hear Kristen?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, Kristen, can you hear everybody else?
I can only hear you so far.
Oh, she's coming in through Skype, isn't she?
Weird.
Trying to get her to come through Google Plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's weird because I've never had that error before. Right now,
Dave, you just had it. You just had it with me, bro. Do you remember how we solved it by getting me to call into Google Plus because nothing else would work? Is the memory not working for today?
You interrupted me mid-sentence, dude. I was going to say never had that before except for Vinny, but you kind of cut me off before I could say anything. But I've cut you off too in the past, so fair is fair. But anyway, yeah, so pretty
You
much
guys are
this is,
perfect
shall
for
we
each
say,
other.
this is the first day in my experience with this. September 1st, 2015 is the first day that I have ever experienced this, because prior to that, going both ways with this connection used to always work. Kristen, is there any way that if I were to give you a Google Hangout link that you would be able to connect into that right now?
I'd be willing to try it. I'm at my dad's house right now, so the internet connection is nearly non-existent, but I'll try it out. And I will say it was quite funny just now, because I'm assuming it was either Rich or Vinny interrupting you, and
It was Vinny.
I heard you
It was
stutter
Vinny.
over and over again.
Of course it was me.
Yeah, I heard you stutter over and over again, and it was like, it sounded like an audio glitch, because it sounded the exact same each time you tried to say what you were saying. It was really funny. But,
All right, so I'm going to disconnect you here, Kristen, and I'm going to give you the Google Hangout link, and just make sure because you're on such a poor connection, make sure your video is disabled, it's audio only, and hopefully, God willing, will be fine. So I'm going to disconnect you now and give you the link.
Okay, now, in future, Dave, technical difficulties work like this. Hey, we can't connect you via Skype, and we've just had this problem before, so here's the link to the Google+. Conversation over. But if this is the first time having that glitch, bro, and also this is another element that's very interesting when you're talking about live radio, because it only happens in live radio. Technical glitches, dropouts, pauses in speech, people not being able to connect properly. I think the worst time I ever had it was when I interviewed Tila Tequila, right? There's nearly half a dozen things that need to go perfectly. They need to hear you need to hear them. There needs to be a connection with the studio back and forth, and they can hear you and see you and all of that kind of jazz. And all 6 of those things, ranging from the internet to the audio, to the microphones, to the network, to her cell phone, her landline, her Skype, all of them were getting down, right? It was unbelievable hacking that was going on. And then dig this, my internet service provider, Slingshot, had a complete outage right in the middle of the show for about 45 minutes.
You explained this on the last time you were on. So yes, a good point, valid point. I think it's because you came on that the trolls of the universe are like, let's fuck with Dave because he's got video.
No, it's it's what they call targeted individuals. If you interview Dr. John Hall about this, it was so eye-opening, bro. Like, it's actually really cheap to mess with people. You can there's backdoors built into almost all the networks and everything like that. The CIA had these front companies and investing in a lot of tech firms, as well as National Security Agency has been taking down networks periodically for what they call routine maintenance, where they're building back doors into all the internet service providers. So everybody's essentially tappable through this system. It depends whether or not you draw their attention. And what he found was that there's a very small investment on behalf of any Intel community op to stalk somebody 24/7 and to mess with all of their calls, to have actual technology that you can beam a signal at somebody's head and it broadcasts at the exact same frequency with which your neurons broadcast. So it sounds like there's somebody talking inside your head. And there's these people called targeted individuals, and they find it quite funny sometimes, because sometimes these guys are just talking about when their shift changes and what they're going to do for lunch and all of that kind of stuff, because they stalk you in threes, 3 8-hour shifts over a 24-hour period, simply with a rental car that only is, a couple of $100 US a day. They employ criminals, homeless people, and things like this to do it. Doesn't require a whole lot of skill. And one person at a laptop who has access to the uplink and the satellite, so they can watch what you're doing via satellite, more or less for free, through their own network. And this is mind control weaponry, right? What they call technotronic weaponry. And the reason why they're doing this to ordinary people, and sometimes, you know, people have got something important to say, is experimenting, right? Because if you've got a new weapon, you need to test it so that you can prepare it for the battlefield usage. Could you imagine what you could do if all of a sudden you could make all the enemy soldiers hear somebody's voice in their head, or hear their own commander in their own commander's voice say, no, everybody drop your weapons, we're surrendering, or something like that, you know? The possibilities are endless here. And imagine what television would be like with the utilization of this technology. Man, I really like this episode that tells me
are you... Do you always have these sorts of interference problems, or what? Because I don't have these problems until, you know, like somebody like you comes on. So how much do you get stalked?
In the physical, not at all. I don't get stalked on. They can't stalk me on social media because I block everybody who I don't like, and I have a very, very, very long block list. It takes a long time to scroll all the way to the bottom of the list of people that I've blocked over the years for being dicks. And so as a result, I don't really experience almost any kind of harassment. Occasionally there are technical glitches or whatever, but most of the time it's due to, you know, mistakes, failures, real just technological glitches and things like that. And I'm reminded of a film documentary called The Control Room, about how Al Jazeera was treated in the Western media. And one of the guys was Saudi Arabian, and he's laughing, just sitting there laughing. He says, everybody in Saudi Arabia thinks anything that goes wrong is an Israeli conspiracy, all right? If a water main bursts in Damascus, it's an Israeli conspiracy, instead of our own incompetence. And that was something that I was starting to think about the other day. How many of these glitches are deliberate sabotage, and how many of them are just me being an idiot?
Yep.
Being open to the possibility.
Kristen was here for a short little bit. I don't know if the connection was fully successful, but then she dropped. So I'm not sure how well she actually connected in or anything like that. But anyway,
her Google Plus isn't connected yet, bro.
It was, but then it dropped out. I mean,
it
was just momentarily, but then, you know. But
flick her another message with the link again, and she'll pop back in.
She's got it in her Facebook, so I mean, she could just re-click that as many times as she wants. But anyway, getting back on the topic at hand about professionals. Most people don't really look at the way, you know, words are and the real meanings of words. Like, you know, again, if you break down the word professional, it's the root word is profess, and chanel being the act thereof. And as we could see, you know, whether you look at the politics of the news media, or, you know, people so-called teaching stuff in school, or no matter what field or industry or whatever, all these professionals are always professing, aren't they? And we're just supposed to take that as the truth. Like, I'm professing this, and, you know, so on and so on. So you just have to blindly believe me, because I have this piece of paper that says you absolutely must blindly believe me.
To send a voicemail,
and
press 2.
we're apparently Kristen's calling back on Skype. Hello, Kristen.
Hi.
We
saw
you.
She's calling in through the Skype again, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. We saw you. We saw you on Google very briefly there. That apparently didn't work.
Yeah, I didn't. So I thought I would try and call here again and see if I could get the audio, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm going to see.
You have to go and download a little an app, the Google Plus Talk app.
Sorry to interrupt again.
Yeah, she knows that, and that's, you know, that's kind of what she does here. Okay. I'm trying to see if maybe I can adjust some other things to get this to work better. So everybody can hear Kristen. It's just that Kristen can't hear everybody, right?
What? Just tell Kristen to make a statement for a couple of minutes so we can at least listen to her on the broadcast now. I mean, we'll be able to hear it. She won't be able to hear her responses, though.
Kristen, were you able to hear Vinny say anything?
No,
Kristen?
not currently.
Weird. Vinny, can you hear her?
Yeah.
Okay, he can hear you.
This is so strange.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here with my face in my hands, just going, "Oh my god!"
Really weird. It really is freaking weird. Let me try something here. Vinny, try saying something.
Oh my god, this is the worst radio show ever.
Oh, thank you. Kristen, could you hear that?
Can we just ignore her, and get on with the show? I haven't heard Katerina talk or anybody else in the room for that matter.
Well, Katerina talked a bit. Maybe Rich could say some stuff.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Anybody there?
Coming through silent but clear.
My browser keeps dying on me for whatever reason. It'll just keep cutting out. And
Well, I figure it was worth a shot.
So, Rich, go ahead, bro.
Oh, okay.
We're waiting on you, man.
Well, what do I say? Well, my view on professionals, I guess, considering that's what we've been talking about. I've been listening, but mainly listening. My real view on professionals is.
You might have to speak up a little bit more, or put the microphone on your headset just in front of your mouth, so that's where it picks up the audio from. Rich, can you hear me?
We're having severe technical difficulties here because I'm hearing Kristen partially speaking through Google Hangout, which is kind of weird. You're jumbled.
I'm jumbled?
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. This is like the stupidest thing ever. This is
I know,
fucking
it's like,
Google
what the
Hangout.
hell are we doing? How
This
do we just
is not
ignore
a
all this stuff
fucking
and just
radio
keep going,
show.
you know?
This is Google Hangout. It's supposed to be crappy and crackly and just not super professional. We're talking about not being professional here and just like being able to just be okay with that. And
I love the cosmic irony here.
lack of
The thing is,
There's a
like,
difference between being unprofessional and just being unwatchable.
Right. It's fucking unwatchable. But honestly, I've done Google Hangouts like this before, and people still fucking watch them. I'm being honest. Like, they will break.
Maybe for the first couple minutes they do, bro.
Yeah.
Well, that's one hit. Yes.
It sounds like the jumbled up board collective. I'm hearing all these different voices going off at once. It's kind of freaking me out a little.
Yeah.
Voices in your head.
That's the technotronic weaponry, bro.
We are paradigm shifting.
Technotronic weaponry live on PSEC. Brought to you by Sia.
Oh.
Anybody ever see Joy Camp?
No.
Oh, you
man.
definitely have to go see those guys, man. It's freaking hilarious, especially their series on the conspiracy guy, and it's kind of like, you know, when you walk around and you're into conspiracies and nobody else is, so everybody else just lives their life and they kind of just see all the stuff around them. It's perfectly fine. But a conspiracy theorist is usually the person in the corner of the room who's just telling everybody what's in the stuff that they're drinking and what's in the stuff that they're eating, what's in the stuff that they're inhaling, what's in the air and everything like that. And everybody just ignores you and just goes back to what they're doing. And there's a whole series of conspiracy guy videos like that. It's just freaking hilarious, bro. Because it's exactly the same thing that happens to all of us, isn't it? We kind of get pushed to the outside, sort of like a discarded shopping trolley.
That's a pretty morbid perspective, but I mean, I guess it kind of is. It does happen like that sometimes.
Yeah, well, the further society drifts from the truth, the more people will hate those who speak it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Especially if it's an extremely unfortunate truth, such as, you're not free, you're actually a slave to ruthless criminal sociopathic banking scum. And you go, man, that's a bit of a downer, bro. Why do you have to be so negative? I don't want to be hearing about the fact that I'm a slave. But it's
I'll take it to the next level. In fact, we are so absolutely and utterly completely free that we can choose to abdicate that freedom and choose to be slaves by insisting that we have these 1% minority psychopathic babysitters rule over us. Because if we weren't giving our consent, then what could they possibly do? It's like
they could shoot you, kill you, torture you.
I'm saying if they did not have the consent of the masses, what could one idiot with a mustache like Hitler have done without the support of everyone who supported Hitler? You know what I'm saying?
Probably getting financed by Rothschild bankers and things like that would have helped a little bit, with who paid to print all the flags and get all the uniforms made, and who poured in trillions of dollars into the German economy so that it could build up all of its industry. It was all American money. So,
which if the masses weren't choosing of their own free will to be complacent and drink the Kool-Aid, all that would have amounted to nothing.
Either that, or you've got sophisticated propaganda techniques that were tried and tested and extremely effective at getting people to abandon their reasoning through fear and follow authority instead of thinking for themselves.
That's very true. The psychological mental malware that we talk about is definitely at play because, without these really sophisticated techniques like NLP, for instance, that's one that's a pretty hot one right now. They've been using techniques like that for eons to try to control the thinking of people in order to have them go in a certain way.
That
was
we've
really
been peons for
distracting.
eons.
See, that was NLP right there, Dave. You just broke my state and then it totally derailed me because I was looking at your pipe tobacco.
Yeah, the product placement, eh?
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's smoking tobacco, though, does he?
Honestly, every single time that he pulls that pipe up, I'm like, oh, what is he smoking? Because it looks like a little, you know what I mean?
I always do that at parties. Hey, dude.
But sadly, it is tobacco. I honestly wish that it was marijuana, don't get me wrong. I'm happy to admit that I really wish that it was weed, but sadly it is not.
See, now this would be the future right here if we had teleportation screens, like if we actually had an app on our computer screens that produced a hologram over the top of it with a thin film wormhole, and you could actually just chuck a 50 bag into your screen, and it would come through your screen on the other side, and you just be like, "Oh, that's very nice, thank you, bro."
Or we could just extract the cannabis leaf right off of Vinny's little superhero costume right there, and just grind it up and put it in, right?
Yeah. I'm Captain New Zealand. We've got some of the strongest weed in the world because thanks to HARP technology, most of our ozone layer has been depleted, and cannabis plants have a natural mechanism for filtering out extra UV rays like that, and it means growing more high-density THC crystals over the outside of the buds, which is the stuff that has the psychoactive effect and gets you stoned. So yeah. Mm-hmm. There are bright sides to having a burn time of 3 minutes when you walk out your door.
It's weed so strong, man, that the Jamaicans go, "Oh, don't smoke that shit, man."
Well, incidentally, New Zealand has the second highest reggae appreciation per capita in the world, second only to Jamaica. And I spoke to a Rasta down here named Tingyalo Ness, who did one of the theme songs for my show, and he said he believes it's because of cannabis that and New Zealanders' great uptake of it that we have such a great big reggae appreciation culture in this country.
Hey, Kristen, it looks like Kristen's trying again.
Kristen, can you hear us? Vinny, I would love to see a reggae episode of Flight of the Conchords. That would be the best thing ever. to see them like all decked out in the dreads and just being like,
Hey, man, do you know what
man.
they call a Jamaican themed tanning salon?
What?
Montana.
Montana man.
Montana, man.
That's funny.
Because they'll give you a tan, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we could go up to. Then we could go up to Minnesota, man, and fish in the lake that's got no fish with Colonel O'Neill, man.
Do you know what you call a Jamaican system of government?
What?
A monarchy.
Monarchy.
Monarchy, man.
It's a monarchy,
It's to be
man.
ruled by mon.
I'm gonna pretend I'm smoking a weed now, man, even though it's a bugler tobacco, man. I can use my imagination, that thing that the system does not want me to use. I'm being a bad man. I'm not being a blind, obedient slave drinking the Kool-Aid, man.
I think that's why everyone's so in love with Bob Marley. You know, that idea.
I think everybody's just in love with weed, basically, just in general, and ultimately, I think every creature kind of likes weed. They had some real problems when they tried to grow it in New Zealand with massive hemp fields and things like that. They got government permits to do these trial hemp fields, and they planted, I think, 10 hectares first, and about 9 hectares got eaten by local wildlife, birds and animals of different varieties. And this is because it's got a lot of really great nutrition to the plant. The hemp seeds, the highest omega-3s in the world. It's like a superfood, and everything has some kind of a healing or positive property to it. Animals know it, people know it too, and it has a potential 50,000 industrial uses, which could more or less fulfill every single need in a modern industrial society with all the resources it can replace without destroying the planet. So naturally, it's illegal!
Absolutely. Yeah, no kidding. As a matter of fact, with marijuana, there is no amount of THC that you could take into that has a fatal overdose level unless you're a cow, because a cow has 3 stomachs and can process 3 stomachs worth of that all day long until they reach a fatal level.
Yeah,
but that's the only creature that can die from that. The only one.
Yeah, it could be the utterly stoned cow.
Utterly stoned.
That's why Bob Marley hooked himself up with some of the best tonic available and started singing, "I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy."
You want to give us a little preview of that song, man? Can you
I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy.
Oh yeah.
I can't go as high as Marley can. He sounds like a freaking child.
I shot the sheriff.
You know what I'd like to hear right now?
I would play the actual thing, but I can't because you have all of those DMCA copyright Nazis who sit there and go, "Oh, we're gonna listen to your video just to see if you used our music, and if you did,
we shall strike you down." You know what I'd like to hear right now? I'd like to hear Bill Clinton talk about marijuana. Bill Clinton, are you around, Mr. Clinton?
I smoked,
but I didn't inhale.
I only exhaled multiple times. It was the best exhaling of my life. I exhaled so much I saw 12 colors of the rainbow and visited 57 states with Mr. Obama.
Is Mr. Kissinger here? Maybe he can express his thoughts on marijuana.
No, I can't relate.
Marijuana is the ultimate aphrodisiac.
Okay, you did that for me.
Yeah, Rich does a great Kissinger voice, except right now there's
Okay. I'll say,
forest
considering
fire.
this is
Kissinger
probably one of the most unprofessional PSECs we've done, which I enjoy these the most because they're fun. Okay, I'll give it a shot. Marijuana is great for improving social policy. We'll see. More or less fortunate countries where we fucks them over with arms restrictions and terrible trade deals. It makes the meetings while I stick my dick up Obama's asshole much more smoother.
And that's
But
the
Vinny,
natural cannabis oil.
but Vinny has never at any time feared the shaft of Mr. Kissinger.
Yeah, the key to the Kissinger voice is just try to embody, if you have a concept of what pure evil sounds like, it is the template by which all evil voices are. Okay, no, think about it. What did the Emperor in Star Wars sound like? Henry Kissinger. What did Darth Vader sound like? Henry Kissinger.
Execute Order 69. I want to fuck.
As you wish, my master.
Ew.
I mean, no, seriously. If you just had Henry Kissinger standing there, doing the lightsaber battles, it would be kind of believable. It's like, this guy's evil, he's an overlord. I mean, Jesus. Pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Execute Order 420. I want you to high as fuck.
This will be great. It'll be like the time the Emperor came up with the perfect formula for Star Wars dialogue.
Something, dark side. Something,
complete. Electronic, you do breach, you should not.
Rolled a joint before, you should have.
But Master Yoda, I want to be a Jedi right now. What the fuck do I do? I need to be a Jedi right now. Tell him, Ben, I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Boo-boo, I smoke more than the average bear, eh?
And when I like to drink, I swipe their Lickenik cabinets.
Hey, Mr. Ranger, sir, stop bogarting the bowl, hey? Pass that shit over this way?
Yeah, you heard, Yogi. Don't bogart it. Don't bogart it.
Hi, Kermit the Frog here. Big Bird, could you please pass the joint?
Enough of the voices,
Yeah, I think we exhausted all of our awesome voices.
Multi-headed Hydra that we've got going on here. Like I can actually do a South African voice. It's quite rambunctious as it comes through the jowls.
I can do the Kenyan East African voice. I am from the city of Nairobi. I am going to sell you some very good East African tonic. It's very good. It's only a shilling for £5.
I can do an African voice.
Oh, you're doing that. Yeah, you're doing the click.
I have a joke about that actually. Like our cat, he's kind of like Ginger, and he looks sort of like a lion, and he's got this big fluffy mane, and we just picture him with the South African voice. We used to be kings. We used to roam the savannah. We have our own language. It was called meow.
In the DeviantArt post for this stream, there's a little picture I got up. It says the professional world, and it says the professional world is egocentric, sterile, heartless, cutthroat, shady, greedy, dishonest, uncompassionate, lacks empathy, ritual-driven, policy and protocol-obsessed, robotic, inflexible, neurotic, pathological, disingenuous, domineering, Nazistic, and does not give one flying rat fornication about you or anyone else. So the next time someone says you're being unprofessional, take it as a compliment. You've just been accused of being human.
Oh, damn.
Well, when I get called crazy, I go, thank you. And they say, well, why are you thanking me? And I said, well, if you'd called me sane in a world this fucked up, I'd be insulted.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, craziness is something that people have just kind of gotten used to over time. You know, there used to be things like laws against obscenity and so on and so forth, but now you've got strippers and music videos at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon when the kids get home from school. Oh, that's nice. That's not crazy at all. And you think to yourself, wow, I really, really want to develop myself and enhance my soul and become a better person. So what I'll do is I'll spend the bulk of my life watching television and being vaguely entertained by mindless nonsense, and spend the other part of my life going to a job that doesn't inspire me, doesn't motivate me, and isn't really going anywhere. And the other part of my life, the part that's left, is reserved for not sleeping very well.
But that's the normal, acceptable, professional thing to do, don't you know?
Yeah, well, my uncle once came up to me and he says, you know, Vinny, my son, he's never had a job in his life. You know, my uncle's quite wealthy. And he got his first job the other day, and now he's saving $1,500 a month for his new house. And I go, oh, okay, all right. That's pretty successful there. I've created 3,000 videos, 4,000 interviews on radio, appeared on hundreds of other people's radio shows, and have more subscribers than the New Zealand Herald, which is the largest mainstream media outlet in New Zealand, and I've done that in a span of about 5 years. And I don't have to work. I get enough donations to survive and pay my bills, and in the last 90 days I raised an extra $10,000 interest-free donations to buy some new equipment. Right? So every man walks his own path, but it's not for you to just judge and measure somebody else's path using your own yardstick.
Yeah, it reminds me of a saying, smart people seem like crazy people to dumb people.
Shut up.
You know what's
Nobody
really funny,
watches
Dave,
your videos.
was that was actually something that our last radio show shenanigans, that person, she posted after she had that weird freak out, talking about yours truly and you. I was like, okay, crazy sometimes is actually crazy. Like, legitimately.
Yeah.
There's
But
the
most
crazy
of the
that we're
time,
talking about, and then
philosophy,
crazy is just an ad hominem that gets like.
I have the greatest
I don't
assessment
like
for
you,
this.
so I'm going to call you crazy.
Yeah, well, there is. What would I say here? Anybody who thinks that all conspiracy theorists are crazy is clearly out of their mind. But anybody who thinks that there's no such thing as a crazy conspiracy theorist is clearly out of their fucking mind. Because, man, the truth not only makes you angry, but it'll also drive some people nuts. They can't handle it. They don't think about it. They don't have mentors. They don't have anybody guiding them, helping them. They get rejected. They get ostracized, and all the social fabric of their entire life disappears, usually in the space of maybe a year or two. And all of a sudden, you're all alone. You've got no support. You've got no help. Nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to listen to you. And you start to go nuts, right? And this is the thing, you can't just exit the Matrix willy-nilly, all right? Even when Neo exited the Matrix, he had somebody helping him, somebody to pick him up afterwards, right? And there is no network like that. There's no school for being a truther. Any of you seen a handbook? No, I haven't seen a frickin' truther handbook of how to guide you and how to live life thoroughly and how to research things properly without letting them drive you freaking mad. the best conclusion I've come up with is you just need to make really bad jokes about it all the time, because the only thing that's worse than my jokes is the truth, ultimately. So they're not that bad by comparison.
That brings us right back to something that I've seen that's all too common in the truth movement. I dare say that most of the so-called truth and spiritual movement are more asleep than the actual sheep, because they're sitting there saying, okay, because I have a few pieces of information about something, that means I've exited the Matrix. I am God. I am immutable. No Jedi mind tricks can work on me. I'm unable to be deceived by anybody, and if you dare tell me that I'm human and could be subject to emotional or psychological co-opting, or that any of my insecurities from the past could possibly affect me now that I found this holy grail of a few peanuts of knowledge here, then you must be a shill, or a government-paid whatever, or an Illuminati, or blah blah, because you're having the audacity to tell me that I am not God of the universe. I am not in the Matrix anymore. It's as stupid as saying, well, you know what? Now that I've found out that I have cancer, that means I magically no longer have cancer. But all you people that don't realize you have cancer, you still have the cancer. But I realize I have cancer, so magically it means I no longer have cancer. And the arrogance and the hubris goes so high, and that's why you have all this infighting and petty bickering and so on and so forth. And it's the same mind as the globalists. That's what the globalists do with each other. They taught us how to be them. And it's like Einstein said, you cannot find the solution to anything with the same thinking that created the problem. But society says, oh, if you use different thinking, you're delusional. You have to use the same thinking that created the problem in order to find the solution.
It's not thinking, it's consciousness.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, these people don't even realize, and that kind of makes them bigger sheep than the sheep, because at least the sheep have an excuse. They don't know.
I don't know. I think when you wake up and you become, you know, a conspiracy theorist, for lack of a better term, and I mean that in a positive way, because it's actually a good thing to be a conspiracy theorist, because it means that you believe powerful people who have a lot of influence actually use their power to maintain or grow their influence. If you're a conspiracy theorist, you think there's no such thing as deception, backroom deals, corruption, or scumbaggery. And I know which one of those two sounds more naive and more insane. And the thing about being interested in conspiracy, especially when it comes to professionalism, is that there's a wide spectrum of different ways to go against the conspiracy. So you get up in the morning and just think to yourself, how many different ways is the New World Order, the global conspiracy, actually affecting you right then? Well, you've got dirty electricity, you've got fluoride in your water, you've got chemtrails in the air, you've got so on and so forth. And that's just when you're waking up. Not to mention all the products in your house that are made by some frickin' sweatshop, and so on and so forth. Everywhere we look, we're completely saturated and surrounded by the products and the nomenclatures and the brainwashing and the so on and so forth, and it's quite maddening. So
that's why the most important thing is to be authentic, be yourself, respect everybody else's rights to do the same, because the main thing that keeps us screwed over is our lack of respect for everybody else. You know, we're sitting there thinking, oh, somebody else has a different point of view, so they're bad and screw them because they're not kissing my ass. And none of any information about any conspiracy theories or anything or whatever may or may not be going on in the world even matters if we're not willing to have that respect for each other as human beings. It doesn't mean you have to like everybody, but at the very least respect that, okay, just as you have the right to be you, other people have the right to be themselves, and just as you have the right to dislike somebody, they also have the right to dislike you and not want to deal with you. But instead, somebody's like, oh, I don't like you. And you're like, how dare you not like me? And then there's like this whole butthurt thing that goes back and forth and petty bickering. People think that world peace is everybody getting along and agreeing with each other. No, it's fucking not. Peace means no conflict. So if people are saying, okay, well, I'm only going to work with those I get along with, and the people that I don't, I'm going to stay away from, that's peace, because there's no conflict then.
Instead, it's like, oh, you don't like me? Well, I have to beat your skull in for it because you're supposed to like me. Blah, you know. And as far as what most people think of as far as when they make the accusation of conspiracy theorists, I look at those people and I'm like, it sounds to me like they're saying, no, rich criminals can't do criminal things with their money. That's nuts. That's a conspiracy theory. There's no way that it's possible that criminals with a lot of money would use their money for criminal things. God, that's just stupid. I'm what?
The answer's in the question. And that's when you know that you're dealing with somebody who's actually programmed, you know, and I think that there's a lot of that going down. I was speaking with a mate of mine the other day about this, and I said, we've all got blind sides, even you and me. And he goes, yeah, but I know what my blind sides are. And I go, how do you know what your blind sides are if they're a blind side?
Yeah, exactly.
See, you don't. And the way I've figured this out is if I have an emotional reaction to something, it's not cognition, then I've got brainwashing to deal with, right? My own personal brand of brainwashing. Everybody's got it, and there's two things.
That's what Katerina specializes in, by the way, through a kind of, you know, showing people that she's able to face her own brainwashing, so to speak, and unravel that. She acts as an example that helps others, and that's what makes her really good for people to consult with, because she acts as a very good mirror, because she's not afraid to face herself.
Yeah.
What do you have to say on all that, Katerina?
I'm here. I've just been listening.
I was just going to say, history makes hypocrites of us all eventually. Something you say 10 years ago, you just like look back at it and go, what? God, you must be nuts.
Yeah, hypocrites don't know they're hypocrites, because once they know they're being hypocritical, they stop being hypocritical, because, you know, they now have an awareness of it. That was one of the big things for me. Yeah, that was one of the big things for me, the hardest things to face, when, you know, people would, you know, say things or do things or whatever that would offend me, and then I realized that my reaction to them was doing the same thing to them that they were doing to me, and I didn't realize I was doing it, so it forced me to see, wait a minute, if I didn't realize it, then they probably didn't realize it either, so now my ego can't point blame and go, oh, that's the bad guy, so my ego can't feel justified, and that was a really hard one, because the ego's addicted to feeling justified, and I had to face the idea of, like, wow, we're all doing the same thing to each other, no fault, no blame, so yeah, that's just like a real hard one.
You know, that is so important to talk about, because I think as people are starting to explore these ideas of, you know, quote unquote, not being judgmental, you realize that there's really not, you can't be non-judgmental when you're judging yourself for being judgmental. It's kind of like this weird axiom where you have to kind of step off the hamster wheel and realize that there is really no fault, no blame, and all of these things that we've been taught to do in our culture is, and in all the cultures really, we're all pretty much equally brainwashed, from New Zealand to all the way over to the United States.
Yeah.
There's
no fault and blame, there's just consequences for action. If you hit yourself with a hammer.
So what I'm saying with that, though, Dave, is that when it doesn't make me feel good to look upon someone else and judge them for a situation that they're going through. And I've learned that it's really like this selfish thing that I do, where, you know, for me, exerting that hatred or that anger towards them, it's something that just makes me feel punished and yucky about myself. And that's one of the reasons why I just kind of stopped doing it, was because it's not that fun. And when I do catch myself doing it, I'm like, oh, wow, all right, that's not making me feel any better or more of a productive human being. So I'm just going to, like, you know, I'm just going to drop that, because it's not something that's really necessary for me to do. And so many people are, in the spiritual community, they start getting mad at themselves about, you know, how critical they are, how complainy they are, how whatever negative adjective you want to use, how whatever they're being in that moment, I'm like, all right, well, you're perpetuating it right then and there in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're humans, and there are these layers upon layers upon layers of fears and insecurities and neuroses that have just been crammed down inside of us. And I swear I'm finding new ones inside of me every day. And that's just the stuff that I talk about on Facebook. It's like, there's even more. And you just get to face them. You get to deal with them. They get to come up and look at them, and they're like, okay, I can have more compassion for myself in this moment, because there's like even more of my craziness. And so when other people are doing stuff that seems irrational or looks crazy or doesn't make sense to me, I can realize that they're just operating within the parameters that they've grown up in and that they have been exposed to.
It seems to me that there's a lot of things going down, like with specifically political correctness nowadays. You notice that? Mm-hmm. Kind of like afraid to express certain ideas, afraid to say certain words, afraid to think certain things, you know, because it's like, oh my God, you can't think that. That's because political correctness is just intellectual colonialism and psychological fascism for the creation of thought crime. You know? Yeah. That's Steve Hughes, the comedian, who said that. And I remember there was this meme the other day. It had a Down syndrome little girl saying, with it holding up a thing that says, "Please don't use the word retarded, full stop. I am a beautiful person. I am Isabella, !" And it was quite funny because everybody sort of gets offended about this. And then one of my mates pointed out, I think you've got to stop jumping to retarded conclusions about someone on a Facebook meme. For all you know, she could very well have been put up to holding that little message. One can be damn sure this little girl wrote all that without any spelling or grammar errors and posted it up on Facebook all by herself, and also sure that she wasn't put up to it by someone else. Because the first thing a little girl thinks of when being offended is to write it up on a big poster, have a picture taken of her holding it, smiling, and then post it to the masses via the social media. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, that. Plus, not like the people behind that bit of grooming are not doing it for some agenda of their own. No, let's assume this little girl with learning difficulties decided upon a media campaign all by herself. And I was like, oh, damn, there's some logic there. I mean, having not thought of that myself actually makes me feel a little bit retarded. You know, and to all the people, you know, running around telling everyone to not use certain words because it offends you. How about this? All right. How about instead of trying to control what everyone says and thinks, maybe you could perhaps listen to what they say and interpret what they actually mean instead of getting offended arbitrarily. Let's say, for example, they mean to cause you offense. Then get offended. Go, by all means. But if no one intended to cause offense, and they weren't even a participant in the conversation anyway, then just kindly mind your own business and stop trying to control everything. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words are way fucking deadlier, and you need to spend most of your life preemptively making sure no one uses them against you because you're obviously too weak to handle that shit. Or at least I think that's how the rhyme goes. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I agree with you, Vinny, and I think part of the value of removing the judgments and all of that is, and honestly even stepping out of that paradigm, is when you see something in the world that really like makes you physically upset inside of you. I mean, that's the piece where people need to take responsibility and be able to be like, yo, okay, this is really hitting on a hot button for me. What is it that is making me feel this way? Like, was it something that happened way in the long time ago and I need to look at it and face it and clear it and deal with it? I mean, that is the space where that kind of stuff needs to happen. But the thing that happens now is people don't know how to they don't understand how to deal with all of these triggers, and they now are trying to be these political correctness warriors and being like, well, don't say that offends me. Don't use the word fat. Don't use the word retarded. Don't use the word gay. Like, but they haven't cleaned up some of their own emotional baggage that's surrounding those words. If
I may interject briefly, you all have seen this image already, except for Vinny, and I will include it in, when after this is done, and I advertise this post around. But just for the moment, there's this graphic that I made called "Let's Offend Everybody at Once," and it's to make fun of all this politically correct bullshit. And I just sent you that link, and I just kind of wanted to get your reaction to that, if you could click that right away.
Oh no, I've already seen that one. Yeah, so it's
like
gay Nazi Zionist stoners. Yeah, I get it. it's funny.
I didn't know if you've seen that one yet already, because I know you're busy and you've got 10 zillion things to do. So I wasn't sure if you had seen that one, but I did make that.
Indeed, good on you, bro. Well, back on the concept of the usage of the word retarded and offending people. I mean, I never use the word retarded to describe people who are mentally handicapped. I only use it to describe people who are of complete sound mind and intelligent, but act like complete fucking idiots anyway. Bro, that's retarded. And this is the thing as well. I mean, I like the topics where people get emotionally involved and get really angry and kind of upset with me. Not because I like that and I'm sadistic or anything like that, but because I know that those are the most interesting and important topics to talk about, those things that you have an emotional reaction over. I like talking about racism. I like talking about sexuality. I like talking about politics. I like talking about spirituality, right? And these are the things that are almost like taboo topics. Like you go to a haircut, they're not going to be talking about that, So I reckon it would be great to have a truther haircut studio. In fact, a whole truther industry really needs to pop up, don't you think? You could go to a truther grocery store and guaranteed no fluoride, no GMO, no nothing like that used in the growing process, certified aluminium, barium, and strontium-free produce.
Let's fight racism with bigotry. Check your privilege. Okay.
Yeah, for me, Vinny, I really enjoy.
But people don't realize that the bigotry does not bear any fruit.
I've been experimenting with this idea of really being more controversial lately, and today I actually posted a picture of myself in my swimsuit, which is like my little two-piece, and the amount of people that were commenting and liking on that because of the message that was attached to it was really interesting, because it was a message about, me being honest about, body image struggles that I've had for my entire life, and it's just something that a lot of people think about and they don't really discuss. And so people will talk to me and they'll be like, wow, you're so brave and blah, 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 but it's because people don't feel comfortable enough talking about these things, or sexuality, or racism, or what are some of the fun ones I like talking about?
Jobs,
disease,
income,
illness, ethnicity, like some of these things that people have very strong emotional ties to, they kind of harbor, but these are the same people who are dealing with them, and they're posting cat pictures on Facebook, and they're not actually talking about it.
Or the list of many reasons as to why nobody should give a shit in either direction about the Confederate flag.
Yeah, well, this is what I was talking about before, is that you can choose to you have either an emotional or an intellectual reaction. Like, let's say, for example, Obama says quantitative easing is going to be good. Now, I don't have an emotional reaction when I scream out,
"You're a lying scumbag! You're working for bankers and you're going to try and destroy the United States!"
That's not an emotional reaction. I've intellectualized the response, and I know exactly what it is, and I'm backing it up with evidence. But if I say,
"He's a black man! I don't believe him because of that,"
then that's an emotional response that I haven't thought through properly yet. I don't have the evidence. Just say, oh, wait, actually, no, he's 90% Arab.
What the fuck, man? It's not politically correct to be racist against niggers. You shut up, you racist.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's talking about being militant about it, right? As if being in the military and killing people and being real aggressive and stuff like that and starting conflict is a good idea to advance your cause, right? Oh, you know what's going to make everybody accept me and stop hating me? trying to kill them and trying to berate them all the time about how they're racist when they haven't even said a fucking thing to me yet. Yeah, I'm going to be a militant black guy. I'm going to be a militant Maori. I'm going to be a militant white guy. I'm going to join the Ku Klux Klan. All people who think that their race is the one thing that defines their personality and who they are is freaking stupid. Okay? It doesn't matter who you are. If your race is so important to you that you think that makes you as a human being more important than all the other human beings of all the different shades and colors on the rainbow, then you're a bit of an idiot, son. Okay? And I don't mind saying it. And it's just because of many, many reasons, but primarily one reason. You don't love or are friends with people of different races. You are not experienced with people of different cultures on a consistent basis from the day that you're brought up. I have been, and that has allowed me to change from what could have possibly been a white, upper middle class, racist, redneck, right-wing party voting scumbag with some enormous bank account and no respect for the human condition, or I actually turn into a real human being who sees other human beings as if they're human beings. You know, saying that you're black is merely a comment on what you look like, right? I always found it very interesting that there's this phenomenon in the United States about there's a black male, he's got a gun, he's armed and dangerous, a black male. It's like, Jesus, and you wonder why it's just not safe to be black in America. Because people have gotten really, really stupid, and they've decided to classify all people of one race as a danger, as a threat, as something like that. This fear through unfamiliarity. And if you were more familiar, if you had more friends, if you had more relationships with the girls of that culture, your perspective changes pretty quickly as soon as you got your cockins on. All right? It's just that simple.
But Vinny, you forgot to cover your cock with raspberry jam. You can't forget these things.
Well, yet again, I want to.
Well, I was in a rush, Brian.
I also want to be fair. As of late, I've noticed that it's, not to say that it doesn't happen in the white community. I mean, it kind of, it's been a back and forth extreme kind of pendulum that's been going on for quite some time, but as of lately, the black community hasn't been doing themselves any favors by, saying we need to kill police, we need to go around, scaring white people, intimidating them. I mean, that really doesn't do them any favors either.
Yeah, I made a PSEC video on that topic called Black Half-Lives Antimatter.
I have nothing against blacks. It's just, it's kind of what I would say hypocritical. They walk around in their black Nazi uniforms and the Black Panthers waving their little African pride flag saying we have a right to do this, motherfucker. But when you pull a Confederate flag out, they call for you to be lynched from a tree and have the media pick you to pieces because, oh, that's white supremacy. Oh, that's the only meaning behind that. Oh, evil.
You know what, Rich?
Idiots and dicks. Okay, these are the two real parts of humanity that I don't like. Idiots and dicks. Okay, dicks don't treat you nice because they're dicks. Idiots don't understand what you're talking about because they're idiots. And what the thing about dicks and idiots is they love little differences between people, and they get everybody to fight amongst themselves and to derail them from actually having real understanding, real debate, real comprehension about what people's coming from. And then they
start breeding with each other, and there's a hybrid dick idiot, and those are even worse.
Yeah.
That's what's voting.
An idiot. And
there you go. A dickiot.
An idiot. Yeah. It sounds almost Shakespearean, almost Trojan. Almost Plato. And the idiot.
Trojan for greater pleasure when your brain's not working.
Yeah, because obviously, if you're an idiot, you're only seeking pleasure of one kind or another. Speaking
and drinking lots of Dick Insider.
Yeah. That's got to be good for you. Oh. I mean, I'm very open to the idea of Dick Insider, and
But not when it's
I
GMO.
think you what? Not if it's GMO. Yeah. GMO knob. Okay.
Come on,
okay.
the octopus
Totally
gene
derailed
gets
this. I had like a
more
train of thought.
potency.
Nah, it's gone. I fucked it up.
Well, I told Rich a while back, I got a perfect solution to resolve racism. Unfortunately, it could never be implemented, but here's my idea. You take all the people that are racist, and you offer them a nice little plane ticket to some remote island somewhere, to where you tell them, hey, you can legally go kill all the people over there that you don't like, that so on and so forth, and they'll be like, yeah, bro, sign me up, let's kill me some niggers or this or that or whatever. So you take all the people from all these different parts of the world that hate each other, you put them on this one island, you give them lots and lots of guns, and let the problem solve itself.
Yeah, but the problem is they normally just go, well, why should I go somewhere else? I want my house, and I want my land, and I want my family, and my Christian traditions, and so on and so forth.
But remember, if you offer them...
for...
But if you offer them an all-expenses paid first-class flight over there, everybody thinks they're entitled. Gimme, gimme, gimme. So that appeases their sense of, oh, it's being given to me.
Theoretically, it might work, but here's the two impediments to it. Number one, nobody's going to pay for that, for all the first-class expenses. And number two, the voting blocks of racist redneck scum in all of our countries are absolutely invaluable to the very cynical, false left and right-wing parties that we have entertaining us as little puppets on parade. So... And in fact, there were some email documents that were leaked to a journalist here in New Zealand named Nicky Hager about his, the party, the National Party here, which is our equivalent to the Republicans, except they're blue instead of red. And what they were doing is they were looking very cynically at the whole voting public and talking about them as if they were idiots, as if they were rednecks, and how easy they are to manipulate by using race baiting and things like this. Right? Comes out, emails get published, and their campaign gets derailed. And then not long afterwards, on the next election campaign, maybe two later, he gets another leaked bunch of emails that turns out that the politicians that are high up in the National Party have been recruiting bloggers to do their dirty business for them, to harass people, to start up blogs and stuff, defaming, disparaging, attacking people's personality, their character, whipping up attacks on everything about their life, and all their works to discourage people from ever getting involved. And it's just dirty politics, mate. Ultimately, it corrupts fucking everything, doesn't it? Because people have agendas that they aren't willing to sway because they aren't actually dedicated to the truth. They're dedicated to their own version, an ideology. There aren't any versions of the truth. The truth is just, there's one thing. That's what we've proven. That's what we see. It's absolutely true. And everything else becomes opinion. Now, if you have an emotional stake in your opinion rather than your emotional stake in other people, and your planet, your country, etc., your rights, that you will viciously defend if somebody tries to attack them, you're going to wind up losing sooner or later, because there's only two types of people in this world: those who want to be left alone and those who won't leave you alone.
I thought there were 10 types of people in the world, the ones who know binary and the ones who don't.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, I've got about 25 minutes until my next show is on, my show. So if anybody wants to tune into that, thevinnieeastwoodshow.com and AmericanFreedomRadio.com are the websites, so you can listen to that live and check it out on YouTube as well. Just Google Vinny Eastwood or Mr. News, Guerrilla Media, and you should be able to find me on those little puppies, as well as on Facebook, of course. But anyway, we still have a few minutes left in the broadcast. I wondered where we were going to. Now, subject is professionalism, all right?
It's 8:36 Central Time right now, and we're going till 9 as far as I know. So yeah, we've only got a little
I know.
bit of time.
I go live on my show at 9. So I'll be like jumping off and then jumping into that, and I'll probably need maybe the last 10 minutes or something like that to prep for it.
That's okay. That's all good. I understand. No biggie.
Yeah,
good.
Sorry, because we scheduled this to my time schedule, didn't we?
Yeah, apparently we did. That's all good. All else I was going to bring up about what you were saying is the Electoral College in the United States. It's even admitted in Constitution class, and I was taking that when I was a kid. It's like, wait a minute. How does our vote count if all the people's votes goes through the Electoral College and these capitalist, industrialist scumfucks there can go, oh, we don't like how the people voted, so we're just going to flip it around to how we want and then spit it out. People talk about, oh, Bush rigged the election and all that. Well, yeah, he did, but the Electoral College has made every election rigged since way back.
It's like getting put in a Constitution camp.
Make sure you have your concentration in your Constitution.
I mean, you're a slave, but at least you got a job, And I figured that's one of the things. I'm employer phobic, okay? So anytime when I feel like I'm about to get a job, I start freaking out, bro, like near-on panic attacks and stuff like that. I diagnose myself with it by a round of hands. Vinny, do you think you're employer phobic? Yes, I do. Okay, we've now officially got as much scientific evidence as every other mental disorder that's currently diagnosed by a group of ruthless sociopaths who want to flood everybody with pharmaceutical drugs. I'll just use weed, thank you very much. That makes me a lot calmer and makes me have a lot more fun when things are really, really bad. You're right, because weed will get you through times with no money, better than money will get you through times with no weed. And the problem with this is that you can never work for anyone ever again. You can only work with people. And you have a lot of disagreements with individual activists and radio show hosts. You have differences of opinion. You both know that you don't have the facts, but one believes one way and one believes the other way. And maybe only one of you knows that you don't really have the facts, and the other person thinks that they do, but they actually don't. And you get all these conflicts going on, and how to resolve them? By heading them off at the pass. It's on the points you agree that you can come together and collaborate and work together, but it's on the points that you disagree that you can choose to table those for a later discussion. It's like, hey, when should we have the discussion about whether or not 9/11 was with nukes or space beams or thermite or something like that? Maybe we'll just save that for the time after we've overthrown the ruthless, criminal, sociopathic, scumbaggery motherfuckers that are ruling the earth and dominating every form of human life. Maybe we'll have a discussion after that happens, all right? And we'll go, hey, we're no longer under the ruthless threat of extermination and enslavement. What should we talk about? I don't know, bro. Let's get into some lively discussions about stuff we disagreed with all those years but never approached to it because, hey, we were too busy preoccupied trying to save the human race from extermination. Oh, sounds like a brilliant idea to me.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it this way. Probably, most, if not all of these theories about how stuff like that happen, they're probably all right at the same time. But all of that is completely irrelevant because until we can all come together and say, okay, we all agree that it was an inside job, so let's go have some inquiries in our days in court and drag some people into jail and really investigate and look at what happened. And then we can let the truth, have itself, come out in the wash, so to speak, because then you'll actually be doing investigation. No, instead of that, let's just bicker and bitch about how they may or may not have done it, which is completely irrelevant and does not actually take the people responsible and put them on a desert island or jail or in front of a firing squad or hanging from a tree, and not in the way that Katerina described psychiatrists hanging from trees, but the one that requires the hemp necktie. Whatever's going to be done, let's all, let's not do all that. Let's just bicker and bitch and say, oh no, it was fake planes. No, it was laser guns. No, it was this, it was that. You know, they probably had radioactive thermite with a laser pointer, with fake planes and real planes, with a Muslim on the top, standing next to an Israelite screaming Allah Akbar while the Israelite was punching them in the face as the buildings came down. Who gives a fuck? Let's just go get the bad. Let's go get the bad
That's
guys.
actually still. That's actually still more believable than the official story.
Well,
I figured out the perfect formula, bro. You know how you could teach somebody that 9/11's an inside job in under 30 seconds? All right. You say, okay, have you ever had a barbecue before? Yeah. Okay. Did the barbecue on for like maybe an hour or something? Yeah. Okay. Did the grill melt? No. Did the barbecue explode into particleized fucking dust? No. 9/11 was an inside job.
Yeah, and has anything ever fallen at free fall speeds, completely defying physics, unless there was rigged, controlled demolition going on? You know, I mean, it's like the obvious is there, so okay, it's there for whatever our reasons, each individuals, we can all say, okay, it's an inside job, fine. We can all agree on that, so then why don't we take that, put all the rest aside, and go do something constructive, like go round up the people responsible and have our day or days at Nuremberg Part 2 and whatever else we need to do, instead of,
everybody's
bickering for all
fan of
eternity.
sequels. yeah, Nuremberg too. Hey, in fact, that'd be a great thing. Actually, we'll just start a website and we'll call it Nuremberg 2. And essentially, the goal is to do a class action lawsuit against every single war criminal that's walking the earth today that's part of the New World Order control structure, and get them all to be interviewed and get them to rat on each other and turn it into this big feeding frenzy of sharks. You know, it'll be freaking hilarious.
Hey, let's call it Nuremberg 2 Genesis and spell Genesis with a Y. Then it'll be trendy.
Yeah, it'll certainly trend on Google+. All right. Well, I unfortunately have to leave you here. I've got a show to prep for.
It's all good. Well, thank you for coming on this hangout with us, and thank you for being extremely unprofessional, thus proving that you're not a psychopath, the part of the parasitic ruling class. And
there's plenty of unprofessional psychopaths, bro. There's a spectrum of them. Some of them are douchebags, some of them are idiots, some of them are, but they're all scum. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuning into this show PSEC live in the next 15 minutes, you can go to AmericanFreedomRadio.com or theVinnyEastwoodShow.com. That's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question, and Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news, and listen into the show. We'll have a few laughs, have a good rant, and it'll be good for your time and wonderful for your emotional well-being and your brain places and your sterility as well. Thank you very much.
And don't forget to have a nice big glass of Dickens cider, because every woman loves a little Dickens cider now and then.
Well, preferably not a little one.
That reminds me of Austin Powers, when the little mini-me clone was talking to that chick, and he's like, "Are you a clone?" And she's like, "No." Are you sure? And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "So you're sure you've never had a little clone in you?" And she's like, "I'm sure." And he's like, "Would you like to?"
Okay, cool, brother. Classic. I'll catch you later, man. Cheers for the show.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.
And now it's down to just you and me. I don't know where Katerina went or why, or if she had technical difficulties or whatever. She kind of dropped out and was unresponsive on Facebook or anything else. And we'll have to troubleshoot what the heck happened with the Skype Google link here, because it's always worked until today. So I'm not sure what's up with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we tried to get Kristen on the call at least thrice, and that didn't work.
Yeah. Actually, she tried to get herself on the call. I didn't know if she was going to be on or not, and then she tried calling us.
Yeah. Yeah, she tried calling us twice. Then she tried to get on via Google
Hangout several times.
Yeah.
I think it was two or three attempts she made, and it just didn't click in because her wireless availability to her device.
The only times I noticed were a couple of times. So, but of course,
yeah, it was about three.
My browser was totally freaking out. It was like not wanting to work. It was like, freezing, and then it would go to the blue screen, he's dead, Jim, and then it would shut down, and then it would start back up, and then it would just break, and, it would just do all kinds of sorts of weird shit. So.
Well, anything else that you have to add to the topic about professionals and all that frickin' neurosis?
Not really. I mean, I'm just kind of sitting here, listening.
Nothing I really feel that I need to say or add. I mean, all the perspectives given, well said, well thought out perspectives, and we just have fun. That's the main thing.
Yeah, a pretty good hangout despite all the bizarre technical glitches that shouldn't have happened. I mean, I can't say for sure that anybody was absolutely fucking with us, and I can't say that they weren't. I don't know. All I know is that, the connection should have worked and it didn't. So I'm going to have to kind of troubleshoot that and get to the bottom of that. Because I'm not going to discount that it might be something in a configuration on my end or whatever else it could have been. I'm a computer tech, so, I don't like making assumptions. I like looking into all the possibilities and, troubleshooting that and test that and, see what conclusions that I come to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that is it then. So, I mean, obviously we can stay on here and talk after the broadcast, but for now, just catch you later, everybody. I'm gonna end this, and thanks for listening, watching, whatever, and catch y'all next time. And in roughly 10 minutes or so, be sure to tune into the Vinny Eastwood show. So you've got about 10 minutes or so to change out your drink, use the bathroom, grab your popcorn, whatever it is you're gonna do. So on that note, catch y'all later.